All right, and joining us now, as we saw, is Walid Phares. He's live in our D.C. bureau. He is a Middle East expert and the author of The Coming Revolution, Struggle for Freedom in the Middle East. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
So how troubling is this, based on what we know about it so far?
Very much. This is, in some terms, one would say a crossing of the red line. The first question has been since yesterday, was it really the Iranian regime or this is a rogue group? What we heard from the Attorney General, from the U.S. government at large, is that there is a connection between that person, that cell, and the Phares, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. If that is established, then the question is simple. The Iranian Revolutionary Guards is the nervous center of the Iranian regime. It doesn't do things on its own. It is under the aegis and the supervision of the head of the Islamic Republic, that's Ayatollah Khamenei. Second question is, why would they do it now, and why would they strike within the United States? They know. The Iranian leadership know exactly that if they are recognized and identified, there is a return address. Hence, we have now the notion of maybe the operation was designed that the Iranians will push for the strikes, for the assassination and for the blowing up of the two locations, the two embassies, but then they would not actually issue a statement assuming responsibility. Now they were caught. That's why the regime is in bad shape today.
Now, one of these guys involved with this, or allegedly involved with this, is still at large. How can we track this guy down before it's too late?
Well, first of all, we have the first guy who's in custody and who must have been talking. Second of all, yes, there is another name that has been released by government, but this may not be the whole story. To bomb two embassies, to monitor the activities around these embassies before doing so, to actually execute the operation of the assassination of the ambassador in a restaurant, all that needs more than one or two persons. So there may be more support to the operation than just two persons. And I'm sure that the agencies now and their allies around the world, Saudis, Israelis, Europeans, and others, are working in consultation to try to figure out who's involved in it.
Yeah, that second name we have is Gholam Shakori, but as Walid is saying, there might be many more as well. We want to go back to Eric Holder for a moment, the Attorney General, saying that if these allegations turn out to be true, Iran needs to be held accountable in a very serious way, because it's a very serious allegation against a government of a nation. Now let's listen to Eric Holder.
The complaint alleges that this conspiracy was conceived, was sponsored, and was directed from Iran, and constitutes a flagrant violation of U.S. and international law, including a convention that explicitly protects diplomats from being harmed. In addition to holding these individual conspirators accountable for their alleged role in this plot, the United States is committed to holding Iran accountable for its actions.
So, Walid, the United States is committed to holding these people accountable if indeed this turns out to be true. But if what Holder said is correct, that this is a violation of international law, should we see international condemnation and involvement in whatever might have happened?
Absolutely. The moment the U.S. government is going to be presenting the evidence, and it's really a strong evidence, that it was the Phares, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, part of the regime, that has tasked this individual, or maybe more than one individual, to strike within our federal capital and against also two other embassies, it is normal and natural that even if we have issues with other members of the Security Council, such as Russia or China, that is an issue that the Security Council must be seized for. This is an opportunity for the United States, for this administration, and hopefully backed by Congress as well, to go after Iran at the Security Council, outside the issue of the nuclear and outside the other issues, and demand basically that there will be responsibility assumed by the Iranian regime.
And would you anticipate that sort of support coming from the Security Council?
I think the window is here. If the United States administration rushes to the Security Council and engages in discussions, quick discussions with our European partners, and of course talk to the Russians and the Chinese and telling them, look, if it was in Moscow, if it was in Beijing, we'll be standing, by you and with you, because this is about terrorism. And I think that the great powers, when it comes to the national security of others directly, their position will be different. Now, there is another story running in Washington, is that this is too sloppy to be the Iranian Phares. I have a different view, and let me share it quickly. This is precisely designed to show that this is not the Iranian regime. And of course, when you subcontract a cartel, a Mexican cartel, and give them money and ask them to go and place bombs in Washington, D.C., the idea behind that is that they didn't want the American public, the American government to know that it is the Iranian regime. But they failed. They were intercepted, so they are caught now in the situation.
Right. All right. Walid Phares, Middle East expert and the author of The Coming Revolution, Struggle for Freedom in the Middle East. A good read. Thank you so much for joining us live from D.C. today.
Thank you very much.
And still